Moo and welcome to the Pinktron. We're here tonight with John Keenan. John, what are you drinking?
I have got a Best Day Brewing Natural Pills non-alcoholic beer.
Nice. We also
Nice and
have Steph
clean.
Etienne. Steph, what are you drinking?
Continuing from last week, I'm having now still the Mezzo Corona wine, but now a white Chardonnay wine instead of the red wine last week.
Excellent. So I am Craig Martin. I am drinking a drama-free IPA from Happy Brewing. So that's where we are. Now,
And
as
guess
far
what?
as drama,
I
we
was about to
had
say what.
a pile of drama in race one of HSRL this week. Bon Voyage, first time we've used this brand new course in the New France roads, and it was awesome. Steph and I did commentary. John did the race, and it was exciting for sure. John, how did it look from your view?
I thought it was a good, fun course. Lots of sprints to keep things interesting. That first sprint is long and draggy uphill. And I mean, as with many HSRLs, right? About half the people understood the rule set. There was lots of explaining the rule set as the race went on, and I think people should have figured it out at least by the lap two. I think we at least had enough discussion that people understood the rule set by that point. Um, but yeah, I thought that, and it's a good bit of recovery between the first, second, and third segments, and then it's kind of longish in between there, and I think that's where the mayhem really happened when what was it, a group of A's and B's kind of caught the C's and then plowed up into some D's, and um, they caught me at not the greatest time. It was in between. It was the long section in between the laps, so I couldn't quite hold on long enough for that long sprint again. Numbers 1, 4, and 7, I guess. And so I think it just drug a lot of the C's ahead of me, which was disappointing. But um, I made the best of it. And yeah, I thought it was a really good. I liked that second sprint the best for some reason. I think it's the shortest and you're already kind of moving pretty fast. So, like, hitting it
Yeah.
hard felt like it was doable. Or at least it felt like a proper sprint, where the first one was really, there was
The,
the
f-
initial
the first one
flag
is
would go
hard.
down.
Yeah,
The
First one
flag
is
goes
hard.
down, people take off. I want to chase, but I know I can't chase too hard, and then kind of grind up a what 2, 3%, and then it just keeps at that like sort of 2% almost all the way to the line. And yeah, it's hard.
yeah, it was interesting also seeing following people how they tackled that segment because, like you said, it's like a 750-meter sprint, so you can't go full out of it, and the hardest part is near the end. But yeah, people went for it at the start, and I think maybe people just wanted to make that gap some at the start and just keep that gap open long enough until the finish. But yeah, since it's FDS, but it
Yeah.
was interesting to see how people were tackling those sprints.
Yeah, so definitely most of the people that are, really good sprinters, top of their group, and top half of their group FTPs as well, those really good HSRL riders, most of them were definitely tail gunning big time, hitting it hard, getting back into the draft, and then sprints at the end of each one. Um,
Yeah,
Definitely when
yeah,
I've ridden this, I do love that sprint to Crater, that second one. I like that one too, John. I agree with you. Yeah, like it's longer than the previous one, but I don't know what it is. I think it's kind of bold a little bit or something where you feel like
Yeah.
you're coming into it really fast.
Yeah, you feel like you're coming in hot.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting on Swift Power. I'm looking at it now. And no one dominated really. Looking at like the firsts and all the 9 segments. It's not showing me the Pave or whatever it was toward the end. Um, but there's 9 different people who came in first, right? No one's like,
Oh, really?
yeah, at least in the C's.
I didn't,
Uh,
you know what? I didn't notice that, but you're right. Uh,
okay. Joe
Oh,
Miles did get 2 firsts, but
yeah. So Joe got a couple. Justin
and
Evans
looking
got
at
a
Justin got
couple.
2.
Yeah.
Okay,
So Joe got a couple.
so there
Justin
are
Evans got a
some
couple. Stewart got
consistence there.
2. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was a bunch of different guys all at the front. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think Derek Branch had the most seconds and he didn't get a single. He only got 1 first. Yeah. It's yeah, there
yeah.
was a
There you
bunch of
go.
people all
Yeah,
getting good times. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
So
I'm not sure now that finish. I feel like there should have been a couple 100 meters after the sprint banner to the finish, but I think it ended kind of quick. I mean, I was kind of out of it,
I
so
think it ended
this
right. I
might.
think it was 1 lap. So
yeah,
the lap ends at the sprint banner.
yeah,
Oh, I thought
yeah,
it was one of those
Yeah.
extra like 100 meters, and then you
No,
get
I don't think
times
there
for
was any
those.
extra.
Okay,
I think that was
yeah,
it.
okay.
And it's
yeah. We were.
yeah.
Think we discussed it in the chat because in the past you had that problem that you couldn't put the finish banner on where a segment ends, because otherwise you can count the FTS for that. But apparently it works. So we were discussing maybe Marianne put it like 10 meters behind, but probably just finished at the end or even a couple of. Yeah, it was quite interesting to see at least at a certain point. Yeah, you had I think lap 2 going into lap 3. Basically, you had that the B, like you said, the B swallowed the C's in short period, and then that group swallowed the D's, and yeah, it became a bit of a mess. At the start, it was also when we were doing the broadcast, just to because of the difference, the sometimes different to commentate because the different groups were tackling a different sprint section at the same time. But yeah, it was quite nice to see. And if you're a sprinter that can recover between those segments, it's a good race and a good fall session. But yeah,
And the distance was a good distance for that mixing of the group. So like I think it was pretty much the middle of the race when that large group of A's and B's came through the biggest group of C's. There were a few C's off the front at that point.
I will tell you it
And
was just
I
B's
think,
because there were only 7 A's and they never got up anywhere near the B's
oh,
because the B's they were
okay.
like in the 30th 30 people, that's like 35 that started, and A's were
Yeah.
7 people, so they never even make a dent out of coming back to the B group. So that was just about a big blob of B's.
Yeah. So I think it definitely gave an advantage to folks who could hang on to that group the
Yeah.
longest because you're just going to get drugged further and further up the road. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're going to go fast in the segment too. So
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because that was one
Even in
actually, I
between.
think Stewart.
yeah.
I think Stewart tried to tail gun the group of bees and got dropped off of it.
Yeah,
Right.
Now, I
but
will 100% admit to having done that before and tried to tail gun the group a category up and,
Hmm.
gotten dropped for my troubles. But
but yeah,
yeah,
you could see Stewart is a veteran of HSRL because he at a certain point after a sprint he made the decision. Oh, the bees are pretty close. I will drop back to that. But
yeah,
yeah, it was nice to see. I think with that front B blow up, I think there were a couple of C's still left, but one of the D's survived all the way to the end. I think I don't know if he was on Swift Power or not, but he stayed with that friend group.
Yeah, I don't
I don't
think.
think,
No, he
yeah,
wasn't
I
on
don't
Zwift
think so.
Power. Yeah.
Yeah. But shout out to we were following because I suggested to Craig Ollie of the finished second in the
I don't know
D's.
that
Is
I've raced a
yeah, go for it, John.
the draft power up, which I
Oh, I think we just lost you, John.
yeah, I think I cut out there. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I don't think I've raced with the steamroller power up.
yeah, yeah. That was interesting. We noticed it directly when I think when I was following the bees, and after that first sprint, I saw steamroller, and yeah, we think
Yeah.
thinking about yeah, it makes sense with the paves, but yeah, didn't even consider it using as a power up. But I think that was a great addition from Ireland to use that power up because it's not usually used in a on Temple. I've seen it in a ZRL, but it's a power up you see very, very, very. It's a very uncommon power up to use, but it makes sense on the paves. But was fun to see it. I think.
Yeah. So yeah, that was. I think that was a really fun race. And I think I think it was this one that Steve Pritchard and I did a
Yeah.
just an easy ride together on it, and we said while we were riding, like, "Oh man, this is going to be brutal for HSRL." And Mergeline hadn't even put it on the schedule yet, but it's pretty obvious.
Uh,
Yeah, I was pretty tapped out by that last segment. I mean, I was riding with a group of D's and like I couldn't even hang on to them.
Yeah. Oh no, it's that's hard. That is a hard race course. Uh,
yeah. After running even quote unquote sprints intervals, yeah, if you do it repeatedly, even with a couple of minutes in between, it's if you hit that like from I don't know sixth or seventh effort onwards, yeah, you could feel it. So yeah, don't know if I will do it because I'm not a sprinter, but might give it a go because I could use some even if it's just as a workout, do some sprint intervals. And the sprint training I did in the week was just by myself. So with a group, it should be a bit more effective
yeah.
with
So
draft.
I'll say at 5 points per place, the banner attack and going off the front with a higher category is absolutely a legitimate tactic here that can work. So,
I
um,
don't know. I don't. Yeah, we had. I think he was on Swift Power, but at the end, the closing of the following the race, somebody did did a panache attack from about maybe more than a K to go and stick with from the beak from the made B bunch, and he just sticked it to the line, kept it.
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
so DeBecker is on Zwift Power.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just looking at the results now, but he finished sixth on primes.
yeah, yeah,
So you still have to make your points, but there's, at 5 points per place, there's a lot of, you can make up a lot by on the finishing sprint. And that's
yeah.
where I think as we were watching, who were we watching come in that was tail gunning? Uh, anyway, was tail gunning the pave sprint. And I think that's might be absolutely the wrong call. I think there's points for speed through there, but I think there's so many more points for placement that's
Yeah,
you really need to ride it.
yeah, yeah. If you want to FTS, yeah, you got to be certain that you beat, because it's only 1 point per place you get on top of each other, but for the FTS and 5 points difference for each spot you get on the finish line. So yeah, it's a big difference, and you can see it because one of the B guys just noticed at the end of the broadcast, Ali Boom, who was doing terrific in sprints. I think he might have cracked or whatever happened because he finished 10 minutes down and only finished 13 because he lost a bunch load of finishing points, but he was there at the
Yeah,
prime.
I gotta say that sounds like it might have been one of those, real life gets in the way things where he had to
Yeah,
jump off the bike.
yeah, it could be something like
Because that sound he was right there, and then all of a sudden he
that.
wasn't. So
Yeah, yeah. Was just surprised when we were ending the stream. I saw, why is this guy? He was up the front of the race, and now he's miles behind, minutes behind to the group he was in. So but yeah, that B group was just insane. Yeah, I think 28 finishes on Swift Power, and I think there were 38 in the race. So yeah, that was no surprise. They caught up with the other categories because they
yeah,
were just flying.
they were moving. They were
It's
moving.
interesting. The D category had 4 women out of the 10 finishers on Swift Power. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was
Yeah, what
that
I
was
was
good.
saying it to I was saying to Craig earlier. I think at the sign-ups on Swift Power there were like 15, and I think half of them were women. So yeah, it was good to see.
that's great.
Wow. So one of those was my wife's account, which was the one I was using to follow the D's. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
anyway, I think that covers HSRL. We've got
If you,
five
yeah, if
more
you,
times to give it a shot, and it's some of my favorite racing on Zwift. So
if you're a sprinter type rider, you will enjoy this and
yeah,
can do repeated sprints. You will excel in this, I think.
Or at least, and if you're not, you get a whole lot of practice. Whole lot
Yeah,
of
that's what I said. I'm not a sprinter, but might be good to just practice it.
yeah. No, it's a great workout for sure. So next we have the herd beginner racing. So Nate said that this is park perimeter loop, and it was, correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably will be, 1 lap for the E category, so sub 150.
Yeah.
2 laps for the D and C categories, and I can't remember where the top of C is.
No, it's just the 2 laps for the D category up to 225 racing score, and the A to C pen, so above 225 do 3 laps. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Having done that, I think it's even, especially for beginner racing, but in general, park perimeter loop is I think an excellent loop. It's it doesn't look, on paper it doesn't look really that difficult, but yeah, it's like the New York map. It just goes up and down all the time. It seems that there's no flat, and especially the big climb is Harlem Hill, but still after that you have a couple of continuous rollers. So it's an excellent race course, I think, for any category of racing.
It is, and it's always that Harlem Hill up at the far end of the course that's the biggest decider on this one. So be ready for that. Hit it hard, because you'll have a little bit of time to recover before your finishing sprint, and go from there. So yeah, great
Yeah,
race course. Try to stay in the draft as much as you can, and good luck.
yeah, and from our feedback, because we don't do them as the introduction to racers in the Swiss Beginner Racing Club, but it seems from Nate and Tracta's feedback, they're getting a stream of those people into our herd racing uh, heard beginner racing, so it's
Yeah.
that's a good sign that people are getting funneled towards these races for having races within their own band of ZRS that they can compete with similar racers of their strength.
Yes. So, Steph, now we have the Climbers Gambit Challenge for June. What do we got?
Yeah, it's still like like explained last month. It's the Climbers Gambit meets Stampede Challenge, which is still on the Bologna TT course. Just to specify, because I checked with the racing committee and such, we decided to, because we don't have the TT module enabled, it's just your time on the actual segment, so Climber Gambit style, but it's just a TT section, so it's from the segment banner just after you exit the pants till the top of the pants, so you don't have to worry about the time before you hit that banner, which I explained in my update post. You can use to get into your TT rhythm or Climber Gambit styles if you want to join the pants and start your effort an hour later. You can also do that because it's set up that it's only the segment time that counts, which is fair to everybody because the pants start at a different. I don't know how the calculation of the time starts, but checking with internally with our herd racing committee seems the fairest. And that's also how HSRL 2 weeks ago for the TT, on the TT module was calculated based on it starts the timer at the segment banner. So made the most sense.
Yep.
And gives people the option. As we've seen in the past with Climbers Gambit, they can join the panel ahead of time and do their effort like half an hour or an hour later if that fits their schedule better.
Yep. I think with the TT start module where you get the boost start, I think it's probably a little bit to your advantage to do it right away as opposed to
Yeah,
kind of roll to a stop and then start from a stop there. But
yeah,
yeah, it at least lets you do it. So it's
yeah,
not a huge difference. It's going to be maybe a second at
yeah.
most. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably still probably when you start your effort just start at your TT effort. But I think if you do it TT style, it's about I think 20-30 seconds till you had the actual start of the segment banner. But we did it most like when I did the TT, you start out that when you get tossed off the TT module, you start at your TTP pace anyways. But yeah, and we did discuss, yeah, like we discussed last week, we discussed the tactics 2 weeks ago and on many podcasts ago. And if you want to do it, yeah, it's now week 2, so you still have like, depending on how it fits into your schedule, you have if you want to try 2 or 3 efforts and see what's set up or pacing strategy works for you, you can experiment with it. We'll see if I can plan something on maybe Sundays because that's 8 a.m. my time or 4 p.m. my time. So either that would work in my schedule. So,
But it's worth restating, I think, because it's probably the
yeah,
only race on Zwift that you can log into and then complete whenever you want, really.
yeah,
Like they're
yeah. That's why I specified it, put it in as an extra update on a post on both Facebook groups and Earth. So, and
yeah,
I
gives you
also
a lot more
mentioned it.
flexibility.
Yeah, I didn't. put it in only put it in the description of the event that the segment counts, but yeah, didn't make it into account for it. Yeah, if the people who know how climbers gambits work know that if it's that setup, you can join the pan and start a bit later, fitting on which fits your schedule a bit better, depending. But yeah,
But regardless, there is the thing where you are competing in a no drafting
yeah,
race
yeah,
with anyone who completes it across the entire
yeah,
month as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of a fun little format. I really like it, and
yeah,
yeah, it's Bologna is a great spot to or a great thing to do that on because there's so
yeah,
many things like the pacing is so complex that
Mhm.
yeah.
there's a lot of things you can do with it.
Yeah, and it was a bit funny because I follow like Urban, who is a Dutch YouTuber, Swiss YouTuber, who co-race because he saw Climbers Gambit, he likes Climbers Gambit, but he assumed it was just the climb section, so we went zone 2, zone 1 for 6 kilometers and then bursted up the
Yeah.
hill. It,
It
still he
actually
was
might
like
not be far off optimal pacing.
and
Uh,
then still he was like 5.5 minutes faster than my
yeah.
actual T time I did on HSRL for full effort.
Well, no, actually, I'll say, like, compared to, your optimal pacing, that's probably pretty close. Like, you're
Yeah,
really you want to split so far that
Mhm.
that is probably pretty close. Whatever he saved by going zone 2 through the first 6K, he probably
I
earned
think,
back
yeah,
the time the time he lost.
I think he did like 17 minutes in total, and he did like sub 8 minutes on the climb, so
Yep.
or something like that.
Yep, makes sense.
Maybe I'll give that one a try.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and fit that in at some point this month for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it was a great suggestion by you, Craig, but also from seeing people saying, "Oh, it's nice you use for when we did HLs to schedule in because I almost never can find a race course, a race or something on this event only segment." So
Yep. So I guess that brings us to the news. I'm going to short circuit the news first and jump in with a hot take. Box Components has released the Stealth Pro hub. I've been waiting for this for years. Anyway, sorry. It's a BMX. It's a BMX race hub. It's a roller bearing. I really love it, and I'm probably going to buy one. But yeah, nobody else listening to this podcast cares. So moving on to the stuff we actually care about and should be talking about. I think the big news is coming out of Zwift Insider, where Eric has done some testing on dirt with gravel frames and found some surprising results. Steph?
yeah, I looked at because we discussed it long before at a certain point. Yeah, they had the gravel bikes, and usually they were the fastest bikes, but yeah, something on the lines of the road surface or whatever the CR thing is. I think they got de-dirtified, so it was less prone. But it seems now Zwift is making that change back that the gravel bikes have again their, at least according to speed tests, again their advantage over significantly over both mountain bikes and road bikes. But and the mountain bikes and the road bikes are quite on the same level of speed saving time. So there isn't a big difference, but it's all the gravel bikes are, and how they did it, and I think that's the correct way that Swift implemented. The road bikes didn't get any slower on the jungle dirt, which is good. They said we just made the gravel bikes faster or a more viable option in those scenarios, which is, I think I think we all can agree the best choice, that you don't make the road bikes slower, you just make the gravel bikes for that terrain faster on that terrain. So that's the best choice I can make. And yeah, I think it's the way to go again. Back to do it was to because you have the those bikes for a reason. So you want to have them, people use them on a certain terrain to have a certain advantage. Anyways, but yeah, yeah, you can look the post for Eric Stein, who did both tests for time savings over an hour at 300 watts, or he's like 4 watts per kilo for 20 for at 300 watts for both the savings times on stage 1 versus stage 5 of bikes, and then also a test which Steve for other tests for the, because 4 watts per kilo for a lot of people is a quite high number, but he also did a test on 150 watts, which is basically 2 watts per kilo, and made those calculations as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's on, those numbers are all on 1 hour of riding around Jungle Circuit.
Yeah.
Um, it turns into, on 1 lap of Jungle Circuit, I think, for the 4 watts per kilogram, about 30 to 35 seconds. And I think almost a minute for the 2 watts a kilogram. So, yeah, significant savings. And so that means bike swaps are back.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're all waiting for a little bit more data from Eric on, what that means on the gravel surface that's in Scotland, what that means on other course on McCurry for the Temple KOM. But and he's promised he's doing articles on that shortly. But I think that amount of performance difference means that bike swaps are back in play. So I guess let's talk about bike swaps. Definitely, it's been, yeah, we've done it. We've done them in the past. I mean, it goes all the way back to, some people were doing them on the route to Sky back when the herd used to run the Alp Dash, where we ran races up the Alp every week. So, that was never real. Everybody's kind of like, I don't know if that's really worth it, but
So,
some people were doing it,
so
and
start so start with a gravel bike for the jungle circuit, and then switch to a climber, I assume, or something like that, or even.
yeah. So I think actually at the time, I think that was before. Was that before even mountain bikes? I don't think gravel bikes were out yet,
Before
but
Could
gravel.
be, yeah.
I think they
That
were
was
actually
with
starting on a
mountains.
TT bike and switching to the climber. But
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Because you got that downhill start
yeah,
from the pens. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so I mean, bike swaps have been around for a long time. Definitely, you know, we've we've used them on things like Road to Ruins. So we had a big ZRL race on that a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think McCurry is when it really started to become, the absolute killer.
Yeah, I think.
Even more than the routes that go in and out of the jungle. McCurry
Yeah, I
Island,
think.
the Temple KOM was the big one.
I feel
Yeah,
like
like.
not many people were racing the jungle. Like
Yeah,
it's kind of a meh race course, right? There's a downhill section and an uphill section, and that's kind of it.
it's
There
it's
wasn't.
actually a pretty good race course.
Is
We
it?
never use it, we never
Okay.
ever use it, but it's a net downhill.
Yeah.
It's yeah, there's a pretty good fun climb on it. There's some downhill where draft is important. It's not a bad race course. There's no
Okay.
segments on it, so we never used it on HSRL.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I raced on it, back some of my earliest Swift races, getting, absolutely hammered in D category.
Hmm.
And it was kind of fun.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, I don't think the jungle's as bad racing as people make it out to be. And very much, I think there was a whole lot of people hated seeing the lower number. And this is, the
Yeah,
whole thing
yeah,
Brent
I think
rages about with the number go up. People didn't want
Yeah.
their average speed lower that happens in.
yeah, yeah, I think that's the reason. That's yeah, because it's dirt. Your average speed is slower, so you're longer in there, and especially if it's bigger groups, like I don't know, not that it really matters, but people still race like Tour de Zwift or Tour of Autopia. If you have a big group, you also have the big dust clouds, so you don't see anything. So maybe
Mhm.
people have an aversion to that.
I do find it interesting that the reason this change came about wasn't really anything to do with the surface, right? They didn't change any of the rolling resistance on the surfaces. It's just a function of Zwift's rejiggering aerodynamic resistance, right? The CDA, and making the fast bikes faster and keeping the Zwift carbon as their sort of baseline. Um, so it is interesting that like that's what really pushed things to be different. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of what good courses would be bike change worthy. So you've got the jungle, anything with the jungle in it. There's a few that go through the jungle now, right? And
Well,
into the new.
Yeah,
yeah, so those are the ones that so the ones that don't go all the way around the jungle, I think probably aren't. So,
yeah,
um, was it Sugar Cookie? You go down the
yeah,
jungle and straight out.
Yeah,
yeah,
So I
yeah,
don't think that. So that one's probably not worth it
because it's
because there's not
too
enough
much on the
time.
road.
Well,
Yeah.
and there's not enough
Yeah.
time.
yeah.
So when you're
I think,
if you go down and if you're coming back up that climb,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think,
so coming up the climb is really where it starts to be worth it, I think.
Yeah.
yeah. Looking at the stats also, which I see in it post, the gravel bikes is faster, but like the mountain bikes, said, well, quote unquote useless. But I think I like Eric Sam's comment, and we might discuss it then on around the horn. But yeah, we have the different surfaces, but making a type of surface that fits mountain biking or even more or single track or something like that. We had repack the repack rush, the mountain bike variant at a certain point in time, which was now replaced with the introduction for your steering the repack thing.
Now it's Repack Rush. It was Repack
Yeah,
Ridge before, I think. Is
yeah,
that
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. I think something like that.
Yeah. So and they can't really put Repack Ridge back because they did the rush in exactly the same place in
Yeah,
Latvia.
yeah,
I wish they hadn't done that.
yeah,
But they did. So anyway, that's what they did. Um, yeah, I'm not that worried about finding a reason for the mountain bikes in Zwift.
yeah,
Nobody's got a reason for them yet.
yeah,
So like, whatever. If they can come up with one, sure, but I'm not. That doesn't seem like a major concern for me. It does.
yeah,
It does just make sense. The type of roads that, or the type of visuals that they have is the kind of place where gravel bikes, wide tire road bikes are the fastest thing to use. So
Yeah,
it does
and I
kind of
think
make sense.
yeah, and I think it's fair. Yeah, you can like temple or you can put like dirt things for gravel on Swift, which with more sense because gravel bike is something in between a road bike and a mountain bike, but you can ride on rougher terrain, but not as rough as mountain bike. But if you want that feeling of an actual mountain bike in a game, it's yeah, I think they tried it with Repack Rush with steering, but yeah, on single recreating like a single track for mountain biking in a Zwift game or how Zwift is set up now, I think it's technology wise, it's a bit clunky. I think it will be a bit clunky and never you can have that actual feeling of it. I think it's difficult to recreate like a single track with like rocks, rock gardens or whatever for our jumps. You never can recreate that. I think in a Swift environment or it's difficult to implement it anyway. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I don't see any way that you can recreate technical mountain biking, which is what you
yeah,
really need a mountain bike for.
yeah,
So yeah, I'd agree. I like this. So I mean, overall, I like this. I think things like Chain Chomper, the
yeah,
the course in McCurry where you go around and then you head up is it up Temple, then up or so up Castle and then up
Castle
Temple.
and then up Temple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
that's that's one of the
if
spots
you,
where the bike swap was absolutely killer. And
yeah,
so I remember we did that in ZRL shortly after the course came out. Actually, we did it in HSRL shortly after the course came out as well. And anyway, both of those, nobody was really sure what was going to be fastest, and then it kind of turned into, there was there was this kind of in between spot depending on how the race went and what other people were doing on either swapping or just riding the gravel bike ended up being fastest. So it was kind of a funny little space, which is what you want. You want that kind of, you have to weigh it and figure out what you're going to do.
yeah, and I think now because I done it wasn't. I think one of the only places I really did a bike swap was ZRL a couple of seasons back when I was when we did Temples and Towers, but these finished uh, just after the finish was just after the Temple KOM banner. So we had indeed that castle as a segment, but then also the Temple and yeah, bike swapping. And the problem for me was I didn't have any Swift plays at the time. I think they weren't out, and how my setup was at the time, and didn't have the companion. I was nowhere near a keyboard, but I think now with the Swift plays and the Swift Ride app, it's I think that's also become a game changer for potential for bike swaps because it's especially with the Swift plays and Swift, you can have the if it's the brakes enabled and then you can go through the menus to switch to a different bike. So I think it's depending on how your what your works for you. I think it's could be the potential.
Yeah, I think my math for for the 2 watts per kilo, 150 watts overall, right? It's like a 175-ish watt gap between well, that's even with the mountain bike. If you're thinking of riding a road bike, if you're competing with people against on a road bike, it's going to be a good what 125 to 375. So that's pretty big gap.
Yeah,
Uh, 125. So that's 250. Uh,
yeah,
and if you're doing the temple segment at that rate, you're probably getting what, like 10 to 12 minutes?
yeah,
Probably closer
yeah,
to 12.
Yeah, if you do it
So
good.
that's 5. So yeah, that's like, is that really 50 seconds faster on the climb? Does that math work out?
Could
Um,
be.
you know what? We're not sure yet. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what Eric has promised us in the next couple of weeks is some
Yeah.
testing on the Temple KOM. So
Yeah, and like you said, Steph, I think with a Zwift Play controller, or if you're on the Zwift Ride bike with braking ability, you can probably grind to a stop pretty fast and
yeah,
swap bikes maybe 15 seconds.
I think 15 seconds is a reasonable assumption with play
Yeah,
yeah,
controllers used well.
you
Yeah.
gotta
yeah, yeah.
you got a
You
little
stop.
bit of startup again, but yeah,
I
yeah,
think you come to a halt with the brakes within a couple of seconds, and then if you can have a pretty good, if you tested it, because that's the other issue, if you can manage all with the buttons to switch it, can be done. But yeah, you have the muscle memory for it. It can be done quite quickly.
Yeah.
So you have
Um,
to use your up and downs and then just select buttons. So for maybe people that are close to a keyboard might be interesting to press A, which is a bit slower to start, but maybe with your mouse click changing for some people might be a bit more just muscle memory, more quicker. But yeah, it depends.
so definitely, in the pre-Zwift play controller time when we were doing these bike swaps before, I found using the keyboard faster faster than the mouse. So I didn't grab the mouse. It was keyboard A, come to a stop, P, select, down, 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 select,
Yeah,
escape, start pedaling and hit escape and go. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I guess on that route too, it's dirt on the backside. So if your race course include doesn't end at the top,
Yeah.
you can also make up some time on the downside, on the downhill.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fun. That's one thing I know a lot of people were asking for. As some we all have a lot of bikes, and we
Yep.
tend to ride the same one or two. And I know folks, once they get the Zwift concept bike, the Tron, they hang out on that for a long time. But I think, yeah, I think encouraging people to try out different stuff, and especially bike swaps, is a great addition to their reintroduction to the game.
Yeah.
yeah,
Game
yeah,
slash race slash what are we calling it? It's a game.
yeah.
Training
But
software. Training
Training
software.
yeah,
software.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, no,
Um, and
yeah,
it's and
that's
I,
it.
and I, and I said that it's how Zwift has handled it by making the gravel bikes, the actual bikes you want, the emphasis making them faster instead of just making the other bikes slower I think yeah, it's the right way to do it, as said before, because that emphasizes that bike, and you don't make the road bikes lesser, it's just the same speed, but yeah,
Yeah, we're still stuck. Nobody wants to go slower.
yeah,
No,
But
nobody wants to go slower. Everybody wants better
but
numbers. So anyway, it's
uh,
good.
improvement.
Um, on that note, unless either of you has something else you really want to discuss, I think we've covered it.
yeah.
So thank you to Steph Etienne. Thank you to John Keenan. Thank you to all of you for listening here to the Pinktron. Good luck on your races this week, whether it's HSRL, HBR, or anything else. And get out and do that Climbers Gambit challenge this month. Moo and good night.